An employee receives a Microsoft Teams call from someone who appears to be corporate IT. The caller sounds calm, knows the language of technical support, and says there is a security or device problem that must be fixed now. Within minutes, the employee is asked to open a remote support tool. That single act can turn a conversation into interactive access to a corporate computer. Sophos investigated a 2026 campaign it tracks as Stack 4749. The campaign targeted dozens of North American organizations. At least 3 intrusions led to chaos ransomware, and in one case fewer than 17 hours separated the first team's contact from file encryption. This is not a story about a secret team's vulnerability. It is a story about attackers entering through a trusted collaboration channel, using legitimate administration tools, and moving faster than many organizations can investigate. We will map the complete chain, separate confirmed findings from open questions, and show where employees, administrators, and security teams can break it. Vishing means voice phishing, using a conversation to manipulate someone into taking an unsafe action. Traditional vishing might arrive as a telephone call from a fake bank. In this campaign, the conversation arrived through Microsoft Teams, where employees already expect messages, meetings, and support requests. Think of Teams as an office lobby. Collaboration features let invited visitors enter for legitimate business. The mistake is assuming that everyone standing in the lobby must be an employee. Stack 4749 used external accounts with plausible support names and IT-themed cloud domains. The spelling and branding were designed to look reassuring at a glance. Sophos observed calls ranging from about 90 seconds to more than 20 minutes, although most lasted roughly 2 to 2.5 minutes. The platform establishes familiarity, but it does not prove the caller works for your help desk. The human must still verify identity and authority through a trusted, separate channel. The attacker's immediate goal was not to collect a password over the phone. It was to start a remote session. Sophos says the operators initially favored Microsoft Quick Assist. When it was blocked or unavailable, they used a cloud remote monitoring tool called RemSup. From April onward, RemSup appeared more often, possibly because it was less likely to be blocked. This is the practical example. Imagine a caller saying, "Your security agent is out of date." Press the Windows key, type Quick Assist, and enter this code. Every step uses a real feature. Nothing necessarily looks like malware yet, but the support code is like handing a visitor the controls to your keyboard while you remain seated at the desk. If the caller is fraudulent, the attacker can now launch commands, download files, and change the system while continuing to reassure the employee. Legitimate software is not automatically safe. Safety depends on who initiated the session, why it is required, and whether the request was independently verified. After obtaining remote control, the operators launched PowerShell and retrieved malicious payloads from attacker-controlled web servers. Sophos observed payloads staged in user-writable locations, especially the app data roaming directory. That location is convenient because a normal user can often write there without administrative permission. The first stage tooling changed during the campaign. Earlier versions used a loader that performed discovery, created persistence, and contacted command and control infrastructure. Later activity downloaded the backdoor more directly. This continual change matters. A defense that blocks only one file name or one hash can become obsolete as soon as the attackers rename or rebuild the payload. The stronger detection is behavioral, an external team's interaction followed by Quick Assist or an unfamiliar remote management tool, then PowerShell downloading an executable into a user profile. Each event may have a legitimate explanation in isolation. Together, in a short sequence, they form a high-risk story. Defenders should correlate the story, not wait for the ransomware executable. The malware then profiled the compromised computer. Sophos reported collection of the computer name, machine identifier, operating system details, and information about active security products. Next came persistence, a way to return after a restart or after the original support session ended. The operators created registry run keys that launched their code when the user signed in. Those entries masqueraded as familiar audio components, using names resembling Realtek or Windows Audio Services. They also used startup shortcuts disguised as ordinary system files. This is camouflage, not proof of legitimacy. A registry entry called Realtek Audio is suspicious if it points to an unexpected executable inside app data. The Python-based backdoor could connect to command and control infrastructure and retrieve additional Golang implants. Those tools supported continued operator access and follow-on actions. By this point, ending the team's call does not end the incident. The original conversation has already been converted into durable access that the attacker can use without the employee's participation. In incidents that progressed toward ransomware, the attackers added more ways to stay connected. Sophos observed remote access software including DW Agent or AnyDesk and attempts to enable remote desktop protocol on the initial host. The objective was to create backup access and move toward other systems. This is an important distinction. Quick Assist may be the doorway, but it is not necessarily the tool used for every later action. Removing one application does not guarantee that the attacker has been evicted. Lateral movement means using one compromised system to reach another. Attackers look for shared credentials, exposed services, administrative connections, and systems that can distribute software broadly. The blast radius depends on privileges and network design. A standard user on a segmented endpoint is more contained than a local administrator on a flat network with unrestricted remote administration. Incident responders therefore ask two questions immediately: what other access mechanisms were installed, and what identities or neighboring systems did this endpoint touch after the remote session began? Sophos linked at least 3 Stack 4749 compromises to the deployment of Chaos ransomware. In at least one case, researchers assessed that data was likely stolen before encryption. When deployed, the ransomware encrypted files across compromised devices and created ransom notes named readme.chaos.txt. The notes claimed that data had been stolen and threatened publication if the victim did not pay. This combination is commonly called double extortion: disrupt operations through encryption and add pressure by threatening to leak stolen information. The speed is the warning. One observed incident moved from the first team's contact to ransomware in less than 17 hours. That leaves little room for a ticket to sit until the next business day. Sophos assessed with high confidence that the activity was financially motivated and either deployed ransomware directly or coordinated with affiliates. However, attribution requires discipline. Sophos said it found no evidence connecting the Stack 4749 campaign to Muddy Water, despite separate reporting about another operation that used Team's social engineering and Chaos ransomware as a possible decoy. Similar tools do not automatically mean the same actor. For employees, the response can be simple. If an unexpected caller asks for remote access, stop. Do not enter a support code, install a remote management tool, run a command, or share credentials. End the call and contact the help desk using a known company portal, directory entry, or telephone number, not contact information supplied by the caller. Ask whether a ticket exists and whether that technician is assigned to it. Treat urgency as a reason to verify faster, not a reason to skip verification. If you already granted access, disconnect the device from the network if your organization's procedure allows it, call the security team immediately, and describe exactly what happened. Do not hide the mistake or spend time trying to clean the machine yourself. Early reporting can prevent one endpoint from becoming an organization-wide incident. Security awareness should give employees permission to refuse unexpected technical instructions, even when the caller sounds authoritative. A real support team can tolerate verification. An attacker depends on bypassing it. Administrators should reduce the number of strangers who can reach employees through collaboration tools. Microsoft recommends tightening external collaboration, restricting inbound communications from unmanaged Teams accounts, and using an allow list model where practical, so only trusted external domains can initiate contact. The correct setting depends on the business. A law firm, support center, university, and internal engineering team may need different collaboration patterns. The goal is not to disable useful communication blindly. It is to make permitted relationships explicit and block everything else. External user labels and warnings help only when employees understand them. Train people that an external badge is an identity boundary, not a cosmetic detail. Monitor newly observed external domains, especially domains that imitate help desk language. Route suspicious contact reports to a team that can block the account or domain across the tenant. Finally, establish a predictable support process. If corporate IT never cold calls through an external Teams account and never asks for an unsolicited quick assist session, employees have a clear rule they can apply under pressure. On endpoints, inventory every approved remote management tool and define who may use it. Remove or disable quick assist where it is unnecessary. Use application control to block unapproved remote tools and executables launched from user-writable directories. Restrict PowerShell appropriately for the environment and collect detailed process and script telemetry. Alert on combinations such as Teams followed by quick assist, a new RMM installation, PowerShell network downloads, executables written to app data, suspicious run keys, or attempts to enable remote desktop. Do not rely only on product names. Attackers changed file names, persistence labels, and delivery methods throughout the campaign. Behavioral rules survive those cosmetic changes. Least privilege also matters. Users should not have local administrator rights merely for convenience. Separate administrator accounts, protect privileged sessions, and segment endpoints from critical servers. Remote tools solve real operational problems, but they are powerful. Treat them like master keys, issue only approved keys, record their use, and investigate immediately when an unfamiliar key appears. If a user accepted a suspicious remote session, assume the attacker may have acted before the call ended. Isolate the endpoint using the organization's response process. Preserve Teams chat and call records, quick assist artifacts, browser history, PowerShell logs, process telemetry, downloaded files, registry changes, and remote tool installation records. Reset affected credentials and revoke active sessions when identity exposure is possible. Review multi-factor authentication methods, recently registered devices, and sign-ins from unusual locations. Hunt for executables in app data, unexpected registry run keys, startup shortcuts, Python or Golang payloads, AnyDesk, DW agent, REMSUP, newly enabled remote desktop, and outbound connections to unfamiliar infrastructure. Then expand the investigation. Identify every system reached from the endpoint and every account used during the compromise window. Check backups for integrity and isolation before recovery. Do not simply uninstall Quick Assist and return the laptop to the user. The campaign deliberately created additional access paths. Successful containment means removing the attacker's access, understanding the scope, and closing the policy gap that allowed the initial request to appear legitimate. The attack chain begins with a believable human conversation, not a sophisticated software exploit. An external team's account impersonates IT. The employee approves remote access. PowerShell retrieves a first-stage payload. The malware profiles the host, establishes persistence, and opens command and control. Additional remote tools and remote desktop support lateral movement. In the worst observed cases, chaos ransomware follows. Remember the office lobby analogy: collaboration access allows a visitor into the lobby. It does not make that visitor an employee or authorize them to take control of a workstation. Employees should stop and verify unexpected support requests through a known channel. Administrators should restrict unmanaged external contact, govern remote access software, enforce least privilege, and make external identities unmistakable. Defenders should correlate the complete behavior chain and treat accepted remote sessions as urgent incidents. The central lesson is simple: a familiar application can carry an unfamiliar attacker. Verify the person. Control the tools. Detect the sequence. Respond before the conversation becomes chaos. Copyright 2026 CipherVibe. All rights reserved.